Hey guys, welcome back to day 3 of my health series. Like I said, I'm taking you on a journey, sharing with you my full health story over the next 10 days or so total. And really the intention of me sharing this is if I can help inspire, support, if you can see maybe your story through my story, if I can help in any way, it is important for me to share. And especially, today's topic could have been a really, really heavy one to talk about. If you saw the description for day 3, what losing my mom to cancer taught me about health and urgency, and it's absolutely not what you think. And I want to let you in on this a little bit because, again, I've never fully shared my full story around this. For those of you that are part of my title, like my inner circle that really, really know me, you know that I lost my mom to cancer almost 10 years ago. It was one of those things that we never saw coming. She was the rock of our family, the strength, that strong woman, like when you probably have somebody like that, right, in your life, in your family, I hope so. But when she got diagnosed with cancer, it ended up being in June, spring of that year, and 3 months later, you guys, we lost her. And this is a story that I never would have thought I would have the courage to share and keep myself together talking about this. But, over these years, you allow yourself to heal. So anybody that's ever going through stuff, has gone through stuff, you know how important it is that you want to give yourself, your body, allow yourself to feel, right? Allow yourself to feel, because that is truly how you're going to heal over time, right? Over time. So what I want to share with you today is I want to share with you some life lessons today, what I learned through that experience, because again, I didn't see these lessons in the moment. And I think they're powerful, powerful lessons to share with all of you. So I want to share some of those lessons that I've learned throughout that time of my life, how it shaped me as a person, and how it absolutely not only connects to the unfolding of my health journey and my story, and how that was a huge piece of the puzzle, but also how you can see how this might show up in your life, in your health, in some way, shape, or form, right? So I'm not going to get into all the nitty details. I'm going to stay more so on the life lessons, but I do want to share a little part of that story so you can really understand not only what I went through, but because I think it's important, because there's so many other people maybe in your life that may be going through some really, really heavy things as well. If it's not them personally, people that most likely within their family, and sometimes right under their roof. And so I'll share a couple details. Like I said, when my mom got diagnosed with cancer, it was uterine cancer, and it was right after I was going through a lot of my stuff too. I talked yesterday about panic attacks and anxiety. So I had a lot of stuff going on that I was working through. And it was right around that same time, I ended up doing something with my knee. I still can't to the day, I don't even know what happened with my knee, but I ended up tearing it, had surgery, meniscus tear. I couldn't drive for a week. She was driving my kids back and forth. At the time, I was teaching in a district that was like an hour away from me. So she was driving my kids to daycare and school, and she was taking care of everything. And all of a sudden there was a moment that she came back and she got that diagnosis. And so we were dealing with a lot of that. And through that time period, literally, it hit her so fast. It's so sad when you think back, when this happens to somebody, when you see somebody that truly values health, that cares about health, that was doing everything in their power to get themselves healthy, and you see somebody that's so close to you literally deteriorate in front of your eyes. And especially for those of you that have kids, when they're young like that and they see a grandparent like that, it's truly devastating to watch. And we were literally in and out of the hospital. I feel like it was days, weeks at a time, just living in the hospital for 3 months straight, since the time she was diagnosed. It was my dad, my sisters, and I. I'm the oldest of 4. And it was heavy. It was a really heavy time. with my kids at home and all the things. So what happened was, obviously when somebody goes through cancer, she was going down the traditional route, and it takes a lot out of you when you're going through those treatments and your body's being knocked down and your immune system and all of that. I remember I was sneaking her in juices and all the things at the hospital, like it was crazy. And what ended up happening is she kept getting these infections over and over and over again. And again, I'm not going to go in with all the details, but I want to share with you some of the biggest pivotal moments that we experienced in that time. And again, I really want to focus more of this conversation on the life lessons and what I really took away from that, because I think that's the biggest encouragement and just tips and support that I feel like I can give back to those of you that are watching and tuning in. But I'll never forget, again, she was getting infection after infection, and she was a very petite kind of person, like a smaller, petite build, and you could just see her body just transform, like unrecognizable, literally blowing up like a balloon, holding all kinds of water, inflammation, all of that. And there were times, a lot of times actually, where it was actually, because we're in and out of the hospital so much, it was really hard to even transport her, to get her down the steps into the car. I mean, she was huge, and it was just absolutely crazy. And I remember coming home from teaching one of those days, and I'm driving in my car. I didn't expect it. And I got this phone call, and I think it was my dad or somebody saying, Melissa, your mom's in the hospital. She's in the ER right now. They actually took her to one of the local hospitals, not the cancer institute that she was going to for a lot of her treatments. So I stopped there on the way home, and it's just, again, one of those things where life hits you and you don't know what's coming. And it actually turned out to be really, really, really bad. She was in the ER, and there was a point where literally, I'll never forget it, all of my sisters back there, the lights like in the operating room, literally watching them resuscitate my mom. Like, it was that bad. And they ended up having to call the helicopter, transport her to Roswell. That's where she was being treated at the time. And, I share all this because sometimes it's not what we physically go through that can take us down as well. Sometimes it's the impact of what other people are going through as well, especially if it's a family member, the impact that it has on you emotionally, physically, mentally, relationally. I mean, your kids, just life, work. I mean, it takes a toll. It's a lot of stress. And especially when, kids are involved and it takes that emotional toll. It's like you're juggling all the things and you want to be the one that holds it all together, for your kids, basically. And so she was going through all that. And what ended up happening, over time, she ended up being in the ICU. And I just remember that there's a couple things, again, I didn't know in the moment, but looking back, there's a couple things that I wished more than anything that I had, that I felt like I was missing. We were all actually so desperate in finding solutions and answers. And I've done everything from just researching books and just healing, holistic approaches, all the things. And there was a point when we were actually learning more about her cancer and trying to heal her, just doing everything in addition to even the traditional sense of just what they were doing with cancer, is to find even like holistic medical clinics and things like that. We were looking inside the country, outside the country. And I want to say the hardest part in that moment was because she got to a point of being so hard to transport. Even if we wanted to drive her to a clinic that was a couple states away, it wasn't likely going to happen if it was us transporting her. I'll never forget, we were at the fair, and I don't know if you guys have ever saw this, but like at the fairs, your state fairs during the summer, There was even like this helicopter, and I don't know the name of it, but for some reason this word stands out to me. It said angel wings, and being able to transport people. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like that would have been the dream. If only we could have been able to use that helicopter to be able to transport her to this clinic out of country. Like we were like, my head was going there. I was like, there's gotta be a way, right? There's gotta be a better way. And the biggest thing that I felt like we were up against is not only the timing, because she was going backwards so quickly, but I feel like a couple things that I felt like were really, really against us also was the cost. I mean, you guys know a lot of these things, sometimes when you're looking into natural, holistic approaches, insurance doesn't cover that, right? It's a lot of out of pocket. And I actually looked into it. That helicopter ride to transport her one single time ranged between $12,000 and $50,000, and up to, depending on location, $80,000 to $100,000. So why do I share this? Like, what's the importance of sharing this? It's because the thing that I want to share with you today, and what losing my mom taught me about health and urgency, and the thing that's not what you think, is this is the biggest life lesson now looking back. Is, again, I didn't see it in the moment as much, but now looking back, I was like, I never want to experience or feel like that ever again, to not feel like we have the freedom of choice, especially when it comes to cost, to do the things that we want to do for ourselves and our family, especially when it comes to health. That became a major, major, major driver. So when you see me show up on social media and I talk about health and I talk about things, it's because here's one of the biggest lessons and the biggest things that can encourage all of you and really to empower you to take this on for yourself. Again, not everybody's up for it, but for me, I decided to take that on. Again, I grew up in a very small town, farming community. You know, our town was so small, and we thought we had everything that we had. I mean, we didn't grow up like super, compared to other people. Gosh, our family vacations used to be driving up to the mountains in the summer like every single year. And that was what we knew. And that was like, we loved it, right? But, looking back now, it's just like, you know what? I want to be the one, and I want to empower you to be the one to change this generational cycle, change the generational wealth cycle, to never be in that place, to have a plan B, right? To what might that look like, to create something where it could be possible, right? It's like the what ifs, getting curious, and to be the one to change that generational health cycle. And what do I mean by that? Because here's the thing, my mom, during that time, if people were to look at her, she's like, oh my gosh, she was like the epitome of health. Like, she had all the health books in that one room, on her bookshelf. And I believe that she was truly trying to find ways to heal herself because the doctors couldn't quite get to the root, right? So I believe she was doing all of these things. And I believe, even up until that time, with even the things that I was experiencing before, I really understood health, and I wanted to get more on that health bandwagon. I was doing everything that I could control and do my best. Of course, we're not perfect, right? I still have French fries and all the things, right? It's just moderation. But this was a bigger thing. This was a bigger thing. Now looking back, this is kind of what it came down to as far as choosing to be the one. And for me too, here's the other thing that I didn't really understand with anybody going through anything health-wise, whether it be you, somebody in your family. This is a missing link, I feel like, for a lot of people. Because like I said, my mom tried to do a lot of the healthy things, right, herself. So it's like, well, what went wrong? We'll never know, right? We'll never know. But we have to sometimes, what also gets overlooked is, stressors in our life. I know she was under a lot of stress. And here's one of the things that I believe is not talked about enough, is this concept of life alignment. This is huge. And I want to break this down because I think this is so huge. Here's what I mean by life alignment. I think we can all, if we've never really thought about this to this degree, but if you all take a minute, right, to think about what are the things that you really value the most, right? And just kind of brain dump and put them down. And for me, like the things that I really value the most, obviously my family, I value health. I value, again, that freedom of choice, like freedom in all ways, right? Time freedom, financial freedom. I never, ever, ever want that ever to be an issue. I'm not where I want to be yet, but I am working towards it because I have this bigger vision and intention, obviously with my story that all connects with that has created that, within me. So when you do this for yourself and when you think about the things that you truly value or say that you value, here's like that second layer that I feel like it's really overlooked and missed is the question. Here's the question is, am I living my values every single day? Am I prioritizing my values every single day? So a lot of the times the stressors, the overwhelm that creeps up, a lot of the times it's because there's like a rub. There's like a misalignment of our values, right? So if we say, I value health, but we're not making it a priority to get those steps in or to make those healthy choices, it's like, okay, we're saying one thing, but we're really not prioritizing. Do you guys see? Like that's the difference there. So you want to make sure you're just checking in with yourself, really, because that's one of the areas that we can catch right away. Again, going back to what I talked about on day one, we don't want to just dismiss these common things, physical symptoms that we're experiencing on a day-to-day basis. Headaches, for example, or not sleeping, lack of energy. I think a lot of us tend to just push that off and it's like, no, lean into that. Don't just dismiss it. Get curious. And what might be causing it, right? What might be causing it? Is your stress caused from work? Is it caused from doing too much? Is it caused from feeling like you have everything on your shoulders, everything on your plate? Because you want to get curious about that, because we want to make sure that we are trusting what our body is trying to tell us. And there's been a huge window as well too for the longest time where I felt like just my body holding tension. I hold my tension like in my shoulders and my neck area. So again, we can disregard that and be like, okay, just not even take note of that. But when we do, it's like, okay, what might be causing this stress right now? Because if nothing changes, nothing changes. So sometimes it's making the tough, hard choice, and making that change, right? In order to, to make a shift and to make that change. Another thing that really helps me through that, I feel like I've always been the person, I grew up, my parents would I felt like we'd go to church every Sunday, and if I didn't go to church every Sunday, be like, what are you doing? So we were going to church every Sunday, but kind of like I was at that place of, we did it because that was just routine. Every Sunday we went to church, and during this time as well too, it really caused me to look and connect with my faith even in a deeper, different way. And I think sometimes that's part of it. Again, everybody's different. I respect that. That's totally fine. But sometimes for me, I'm just sharing my story, my experience. And what that did for me is when I grabbed hold of that, it's when I couldn't really rely on anyone or anything, it was just kind of that feeling of surrendering and trusting and having faith, and allowing yourself to pick yourself back up. Because even though sometimes the most challenging things can happen in our life, we can choose that to take us down, right? And it's okay to feel, but don't allow that to take you out for the entire day. Don't allow that to take you out for weeks and months at a time. It's choosing, it's hard, it's not easy, but choosing to rise above it, choosing to move forward. And what might that look like for you? We have the power to create our life. We all have the power of choice as well too. So every single day, every single hour, every single minute, again, we're not perfect, but we can all choose, and we can all choose again, over and over and over again. So I just want to leave you with that. Again, those were some of my biggest lessons, and let me know if you can relate to this. Let me know what your biggest takeaway was from this was. Let me know, again, if you resonated with this at all, or needed this reminder, or appreciated this encouragement. Like, drop a heart below, like, let me know. And let me know too if there's anything that I can help and support you with. But I'm going to continue to show up, share my story. I do believe it's crazy. I just look at life differently, especially when you lose somebody you really are close with and care about. You do start to look at life differently. I really, really try to come from a place of gratitude. Gratitude is everything. Sometimes we feel like everything is going wrong in our life, but we have to remember, what we do have, and be appreciative and grateful for what we do have, and the lessons and the memories and what we can carry and pass on to our kids. Oh, one last thing that I want to say is, when I was talking about choosing to be the one, empowering you to be the one, right? I share that not to place a heavy weight or pressure on yourself with the responsibility, because it can feel heavy to have that responsibility to be the one, right, for your family. Or again, it's a shift in perspective. Choosing to be the one, and how empowering is that, or could that be in your life if you were to be the one to create that change? And as if, like, just the same way as I'm choosing to do my personal best with my health and life choices and all the things to create that ideal life that aligns with my lifestyle, aligns with my values every single day. Here's what that does is we get to model that to our kids. So even though we may not be fully healed, right? Because obviously I already have kids, so what's passed down or whatever and all the things, like, they might get some of that. Like, again, this is a lie for another day. I'm not gonna get too off track. But what they do see is, when we choose to be the one, they choose to see how we attack life differently, how we think, how we react, how we respond, right? So we are actually being a role model for them, and they're watching, right? And they're watching the food choices, they're watching what we consume. And that's what we consume on maybe TV, what we consume on the radio, podcasts, things like that, setting the example. They're seeing you making healthy choices in the kitchen, and they're seeing you making those healthy choices with exercise. At least they're taking note, and we are now creating this ripple effect. So that way we can empower them to do the same, and continuing to be the best and healthiest versions of ourselves that we can possibly be, to flip the script and to change that generational cycle. And I'm choosing to do it both generationally, like changing wealth cycles, and also health, cycles. And again, if we want to have more conversations with me about that, I love that. And that's what I wish social media was more of, to be honest with you. I don't love small talk. I love conversations like this. Like, let's have these real deep dive conversations, not to stay in a pity party, but to problem solve, to think bigger, right? So anyway, I'm going to leave you with that. For those of you that watched live with me or catching the replay, I know a lot of you are busy today, and a lot of you may be coming back and watching the replay, but let me know that you watched. Let me know that you stopped by, say hello, and I will tune back in and pick back up with day 4 of my health and healing journey.